Hello and welcome to another video by Spider-Man Pro 2004, and today I'll be reviewing the first of many X-Men videos. I will be going over the X-Men movies as a whole, what I think of the X-Men movies, and just generally what I think, including characters, story, and basically everything, and how Fox handled the X-Men franchise for the most part, the ups and downs of X-Men the franchise. Starting with the very first, X-Men. So, X-Men premiered on August 15th, 2000 in all cinemas, and it was a very success for not just for Fox, but for Marvel in general. Because you see, back in the 90s, there was the X-Men animated series, which was also a major hit, not only for kids to watch, but for adults to enjoy. So when they decided they were going to do an X-Men movie, Fox knew what they wanted to do with it. So they hired the director Bryan Singer, who may or may not have issues in terms with people. But anyway, they decided him as the director to direct the first X-Men movie. And it was largely a success. However, how do I feel about this movie? Well, let's get down to the story. The film depicts a world where a small portion of people are mutants, who possession of superhuman powers makes them distrusted by normal humans. It focuses on mutants Wolverine and Rogue, as they are brought into a conflict between two groups that have radically different approaches to bringing about the acceptance of mutant kind. Professor Xavier's X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants, led by Magneto. So obviously, right off the bat, you can tell that the characters are very established in this film. Wolverine is greatly played by Hugh Jackman, and Anna Paquin's okay as Rogue, I guess. But we'll get to the characters soon enough. The story itself is pretty decent for the most part. Most of the characters in the story are good. Jean is, well, like I said, we'll get to the characters eventually. Overall, just in general, the story, in terms of what it does for the movie, is pretty good. Now it's time for the characters. First up, we have Professor X. Wonderfully played by Patrick Stewart, you can really tell that this is Charles Xavier in the flesh. You can tell that his intentions are very decent. He wants humans and mutants to live in peace, and generally he just wants to protect his X-Men from the harmful things that humans may or may not do to them. Whether or not they're good or bad is up to the world to decide. Now, whether you disagree with me or not, I think Professor X in this movie is fine. Yes, he's underused in the lot of this movie, but he's just there to guide Wolverine into a world where he understands what's going on, and that he should help them when he can. It's not a question whether or not where Professor X is useless or not. It's just a case of, oh, Professor X is there, but he's not as a significant character as the main team is. He's not as active as he used to be, which we'll get into later reviews down the line. But in this first film, he's just, well, basically the mentor of the whole team. Literally, the mentor, literally. He's just very, very good in the role, and it's great to see him, go from this. Well, we'll see. But overall, Patrick Stewart does a great performance as Professor X, in my opinion, and he does it pretty damn decently in all the films. Even if some of the performances in those movies aren't necessarily good, he does what he can, at least in this first one. So, kudos to Patrick Stewart for doing it. Next up we have Magneto, wonderfully played by Ian McKellen. You can really tell that this is a convincing villain who's not laughably dressed in a silly outfit, doesn't have a stupid, oh, I'm just a villain because I want to take down the world or everything, control the whole world. You can tell his intentions are actually pretty well realized. He wants to protect mutants just as much as Charles does, but he wants to do it in a very different way. If that means he has to have a war with the humans, then he will. He'll go to war, which he ultimately somewhat does in almost every movie, but hey, we'll get to that. He's a complex character in this first film. He doesn't want to hurt Rogue, but he'll have to in order to succeed what he's going to do, which we'll get to in terms of the other characters. Magneto in this first film is just good. He's just one of those villains you can just easily empathize with because, hey, it's kind of the real world, just with superheroes involved. It makes it a little bit more distinctly good. He's not necessarily evil, but he's not necessarily good either. And you learn a lot about him in future movies. But in this first film, just like Professor X, he's only there because they need a villain to fight, which is fair, I guess. And I don't think they could have chosen any better villain than Magneto for the first film. He's pretty damn good. So kudos to you, Ian McKellen, for doing your best in this movie, and in basically all of them, basically. But hey, I'm talking about the first one right now, so yeah, good on you. And now we have, if not the best character in the entire franchise, including this film alone, we have Wolverine, played by the awesomely Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman plays Wolverine so easily, it's almost as if he was never even cast. He was always there. This, in my personal opinion, this is Wolverine. Whether you like him or not, this is Wolverine. He looks the part, he acts the part, and damn good, they got him pretty damn accurate. The claws don't look like CGI messes and pieces of crap that a computer company could not be able to do properly. These look like real blades, real claws. I mean, if you read up it on Wikipedia, you can tell that they've got like a bunch of double looking things just for Wolverine alone. He's got like more than 20 gloves, because every time he had to open the claws, you know, the gloves would just rip off and everything. Personally, Wolverine in this movie is just bang on awesome, mate. He's literally awesome. He's the definition of awesome. That's just Wolverine, in my opinion. That is Wolverine. He is awesome in this movie. And quite frankly, even if you don't like 3 and Origins, he's damn awesome in all of those movies. He's awesome in all of them. That's right, all of them. Wolverine's just Wolverine. Alright, whether or not the movie's shit or not, he's good in the movie. Whether you like it or not, that, personally, is Wolverine. Well done to you, Hugh Jackman. You did us proud. And now we have Rogue, played by Anna Paquin. Now hear me out. I don't think that Rogue is the worst character in this movie. Hear me out. Anna Paquin does a good job playing her as Rogue. However, there is one problem with Rogue. She's a teenager, not a woman. I just can't get over the fact that the studio, this is Fox by the way, why they thought it'd be a good idea to make Rogue a teenager. Yeah, it's sure it may look like a good idea on paper, but in reality, it just looks a bit stupid, and you set up this stupid love triangle, and in the later ones and the 2 sequels that came after, and it's just and then Rogue then later just becomes useless. She basically becomes Rose. She becomes nothing, and it's just like, oh, there's Rogue. Yeah, you remember her? Yeah, she sucks people's energy. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, in this movie, that's all she can do. That's all she does. And she doesn't even become an X-Man until the second movie hits until the second movie. So in this movie, Rogue, who's played by Anna Paquin, she's literally wasted in this movie. She's wasted. She's only there so she can be like, oh look, welcome to the world of X-Men. When you've got Wolverine to do that, you don't need Rogue. Personally, you could have introduced Rogue later in the series if you really wanted to. But no, they decided to have it as the main surrogate because that was a good idea back then. This was the 2000s, alright? They decided, and that time, they liked having shows and movies revolve around teenagers for some reason because they thought that'd be a good idea. Well, no one really cared about teen angst at the time until, you know, such shows like Doctor Who came back. That's when they started, horseshoeing it in, just so they can get those younger viewers who at the time may or not be teenagers at the time, just to get invested. It just really annoying. It just annoys me. It just gets on my wick sometimes. Anna Paquin does a great performance, at least in this one. But her character in the movie is just useless. She's underused, just like Professor X and Magneto for the most part. Even though those two have more to do with the story than she does. She's only there just so Wolverine can have someone to talk to, and have, like, someone to protect in this movie. Which is fair enough. But Anna Paquin just doesn't feel like Rogue. She looks like Rogue. She has the white hair, the little white thing in her brown hair and all that. She does, and that accent. Her accent is even worse than Halle Berry's accent in this movie. It's far worse. She's trying to be like this, I don't know, Canadian or Southern accent or something. Oh god, it just doesn't work for this movie. Personally, I think it was a bold. I think it was a risky choice that didn't pay off. However, I'll have to give one credit. Anna Paquin does the best with what she's got. The best of what she's got is pretty shitty. And we'll say no more on the matter. Overall, in this movie, Rogue was wasted. And I'm actually pretty upset about that because I like Rogue, at least for the most part. This movie just didn't utilize her very much. And she just became the, oh look, here's a machine thing. Yeah, she just became a thing that Magneto could use to just power his machine. Which, in theory, just sounds good, but then just sounds stupid when you watch the film. It doesn't make sense why she's there. Besides, we've got better characters than her in this movie anyway, so, meh. And now we have Cyclops, played by James Marsden. James Marsden's not terrible as Cyclops. The character of Cyclops is just absolutely dreadful. How in the world they cast the best actor to portray him in the movie, at least in this one, but then just literally nothing with him, and make him look like an absolute dickhead in the whole film. Even Wolverine himself calls him a dick. And yes, he is a dick. Wolverine's not wrong, he's just stupid and bland. He feels like he's just looking out to be the next Professor X. He don't need that. All the Professor isn't a dick, he's just old. It just feels like Wolverine just knows what's up more than he does. If anything, Wolverine should be the leader, not this frickin' idiot. All jokes aside, Cyclops, just for me, and at least in this one, and in basically everything, except Apocalypse, he's alright in that one. In this one, he just feels just bland and boring. Just another team leader, just another leader that just thinks he's tough. Because he's, you know, all serious and everything. But he just looks like he just looks like an idiot. And he acts like an idiot as well. Personally, I think Wolverine just should have led the team, or Storm. Or Jean Grey for that matter. Not this dickhead. Yeah, it just looks stupid. And now we have Jean Grey. The only problem I have with Jean Grey in this movie, for me personally, she's just not that interesting yet. She's just a scientist, which on paper and in theory sounds like a good idea. The movie just doesn't use it very well, and it just seems like, well, hey, look what she can do. I mean, Cyclops did nothing in the movie. She did some things, but they're hardly important to the rest of the movie anyway. Since she can just basically do anything with her mind. And it's, I don't know. The actress who plays Vanessa Johnson, she's okay as Jean Grey. She's not terrible she's not terrible yet, but she will be. In this movie, she's fine. She's decent. She's good, but just overall, I don't know if she was a right choice. At least in my opinion, Sophie Turner is a much better Jean Grey. In every step of the way. I don't know. I just have attachment for the younger cast. I just don't think I don't think this actress holds up as much as she does. She doesn't have the whole terminal, you know, her breaking down and everything. We'll get to that in the third movie, but at this moment in time, Jean Grey in this movie is just not interesting enough. I wish she was. Next up, we have Storm, played by Halle Berry. Now, I will say this. Her accent in this movie isn't very good, but at least it's more convincing than Anna Paquin's accent, which just destroys itself by the third movie. This accent of her is okay. She's fine. Storm as a character in this movie is pretty decent. She's playing her pretty damn good in this movie. But that one line that everyone jokes about from the first film. What happens to a toe when it's struck by lightning? Same thing that happens with everything else. Written by Fox. It's not a bad line, it's just very cheesy, and it just reminds you of what Batman and Robin was. Which is not a good feeling, and it does tend to dip away from the what the movie was trying to go for. Just because, but you can look past that line from the movie and just think, Storm in this movie is pretty damn awesome. Yeah, she doesn't do much, and it's not her fault. It's not her fault. She just didn't get developed enough yet, just like Jean Grey. But Cyclops just got freaking annihilated in these movies, didn't he? But we've already talked about him. Storm, she's fine in this movie, along with everyone else, apart from Cyclops, who's shit. You can fuck off. Storm is good in this movie, at least for the most part. She's not terrible, she's not brilliant, but she's fine. I think she's on par with Wolverine. Wolverine's brilliant though, but she's fine. And now we have Mystique, who in my opinion is one of the least portrayed in this movie. I mean, for one thing, why is she naked? If there's anything that was going to scare a kid from this movie, it wasn't Magneto, it wasn't Wolverine's claws, it wasn't Cyclops' eye beam, it wasn't Jean Grey's levitating powers like from Harry Potter. Oh no, or Storm giving lightning to Toad with his tongue, or say with him being all frightening. No, it was a woman naked, painted in blue skin. Yeah, why is she naked? Did the filmmaker decide it was a good idea? Yes, on paper it sounds like a good idea, but when you watch it on the film, it just looks weird and really odd. Why she's not wearing any clothes? What, did she run out of bras in the supermarket store that she couldn't find? So they just, well I'm poor, we're supervillains, fuck it. I mean, she's only here because Magneto just needs a buddy to chat to. I mean, he's got Toad and Saber, but who the fuck cares about them? Who the fuck cares about them? One was in Star Wars, the other, well, I haven't seen it for like forever. The other one got recast. Besides, and does it even matter? No, I don't think it does. Mystique in this movie just doesn't really work. I mean, she's good for the most part. It's just her appearance in this movie just looks really, really odd. I always question when a studio like Fox decides to have characters in comics who wear clothes but have blue skin and red hair, they decide to paint them blue, the right shade of blue, but do not give them clothes. Like, why? Overall, Mystique just feels useless in this movie, just like Rogue, and a little bit like Storm and Jean in this movie. But she's way better than... I know I'm shitting on Cyclops, but come on, I just don't like him in general. I just don't find him as any, yeah. But Mystique, she just doesn't feel like a character in this movie. She feels like she's just there because, oh look, we got another villain. Hey, recognizable. But yeah, I don't understand why she's naked. I don't understand why she's naked, and we probably will never understand it. We probably never will. And whenever Rebecca Romijn wants to tell us why she was naked in the movie, then maybe one day we'll find out. But at this moment in time, when I'm recording this, we have no idea why she's naked. No idea. And now we have Toad, poor Toad, played by Ray Park, the same actor who played in Star Wars, Darth Maul. And this movie, he just feels like he's playing a parody of him with the whole stick. But then he does this weird dance in the museum. It's like, what the fuck is he doing? Is he trying to look like an idiot, or is he trying to look like a really cornish supervillain? Oh, and his face is painted green. He is painted green. Jeez. And the bad thing about it, Magneto never uses him again. We never see him again until Days of Future Past, back in the 70s, 1973 to be exact. And it just, oh my god, and it doesn't really work. Overall, for me, Toad was wasted in this movie. Didn't need to be there. He was only there so that Storm could set up a cheesy line that everyone jokes about, which, as you have seen in this video, I have defended. But he himself is just, oh god, he's awful. I feel so bad for Ray Park. I feel so bad for him because he never showed, his version of him never showed up again. Overall, he's just not a very compelling villain, and Magneto just hardly uses him anyway. And finally, for the main characters in this movie, we have Sabretooth. And yes, in this movie, he does not recognize Wolverine. And Wolverine doesn't recognize him, which is actually easy, which you can understand, because of the whole memory loss thing. But how in the hell does he not recognize Wolverine? Maybe maybe he found him and then shot him in the head as well, and I don't freaking know. Ugh, these timelines are so confusing. Anyway, he's not used in this movie as much as he could have been. He's just there so he can fight Wolverine, which was sort of anti-climax, and he ran away like a little bitch. And he died anyway. So, he's just, oh my god, I feel so bad for Tyler Mane, because he would have been he looks like a great Sabretooth, and yet he's hardly used. He's just another Magneto lackey, just like the Juggernaut, who was never seen again, who was seen again, but done better, sort of, but just never really turned up properly. At least this version of said character never turned up again. So yeah, in terms of main characters, he is the least used in out of all of them. Now, final thoughts. The movie itself is a decent movie. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Some of the characters like Wolverine, Professor X, and Storm and Magneto are well established and pretty damn good. However, there are some characters like Rogue, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Toad, and Sabretooth and Mystique, which are not utilized in this movie as much as they could have been, given the fact of how many characters there are. It's just, it just feels so bad about most of those characters in general. Some of them are naked, some of them are teenagers, even though in the comics they never really were. Some are painted green for some reason, and some just don't remember anybody from later films, even though they didn't get memory wiped. Hashtag Sabretooth. And it just feels, well, weird. Overall, X-Men in general is just a good movie. It's fine, it's easy to watch, and kids can enjoy it along with adults. But the story, the story's just weird. The characters don't feel like them sometimes, and the choice of outfits, specifically Mystique. Why the hell they made her naked? Who the fuck knows? But at least we can take something away from this movie. At least it's not as bad as X-Men 3. But we'll get to that, because I am a critic and I'm known for making films and everything, so I need to continue with this film franchise and basically review it all the time. So yeah, that was X-Men. I hope you enjoyed my X-Men review. Hopefully X-Men 2, or X-Men United as it's called in the United States, even though on the DVD, on the actual disc and the menu, they never call it that. Ridiculous, I know. But until then, I'll see you next time. Check out these other two videos if you want to see more from my channel, and click here to see the channel icon so you can go and subscribe and rate, comment, and subscribe. Oh, and click the notification bell so you get notified every time I review make another video. Ugh. Well, from that on, I'll see you next time. See you later, Gavs!